This is Eric Beyer of Old Vine, Texas, a new winery tasting room featuring 100% Texas wines from wineries all over the state. We are located in Mansfield, Texas, inside of Ancora Event Center on Broad Street. We have weekly tastings, charcuterie board to enjoy, live music, and a new wine club. Go visit our website at oldvinetexas.com to sign up for our newsletter and learn more. Or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Vine, Texas. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back, everybody, to We Know Texas Vino. I'm your host, Will, and today I'm sitting at a new winery here in Fredericksburg that literally just opened up, in May of this year, 2025? Wow, so y'all are really new, okay? So y'all are like still nervous. See how I made her laugh? So I've got Tyler and Melissa Whatley, correct?
Yes, sir.
We're at Whatley Wines here on the west side of Fredericksburg. I almost said Fort Worth, sorry. That'll be bad for them to try to find that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, and welcome on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, welcome. We actually met last night at the event at was it Burrell?
Yes,
Burrell Winery, which is a phenomenal location, and I hear we're going to be doing more events there, so I'm excited about that. So before we get into the show, we want to tell all of our listeners where they can find us at weknowtexasvino.wine, and also on Facebook, social media, YouTube, and any podcasting platform at We Know Texas Vino. And I'm going to take my headphones off so I don't have to listen to myself talk anymore like that. So, but find us out there online and just give us a like, give us a 5-star rating. Tell us what you love about the show. Tell us what you want to hear. If you want us to visit a winery, let us know where you want to go. So we're going to go ahead and get into the show because I got to talk to Melissa the other day for a little bit, and she has an amazing story of how these two fine people found each other and got this winery open. And so, Melissa,
yeah,
go ahead. Let's hear that story.
Awesome.
Now you got to give Tyler time to talk too, okay?
Why does everybody give me a hard time about that? Once he gets going, it won't be any time for me. I'm just kidding. So our journey to get here was definitely, I feel like the Lord really, our tasting room came together, and it started with kind of my journey up to a certain point and Tyler's journey up to a certain point. And for me, I played sports my whole life. I played 2 sports in college, and then had an injury and stopped playing and started coaching and loved to coach. And after that injury, kind of felt like the Lord said that I was supposed to work with people, and didn't really know what that looked like 100%. And so I started coaching, and I took a job in a little market because I grew up cooking with my grandparents. Mm-hmm. I loved to be in the kitchen with my grandmothers and with my mom. And, my mom didn't really love to cook that much, so she loved that I loved to cook and just had a passion for food. And so at 21, I took a job in this little bakery market that was next door to this nice restaurant in town. And what was so appealing for me is I got to create the sandwich of the day from whatever they had. So whatever crazy meats, any crazy idea I had, as long as it sold and, could kind of run it by them, I could create the sandwich of the day. And so it allowed those food flavors to come in. And I was like a kid in a candy store. Well, what I didn't realize is that they also had a part of my job was to pick a bottle of wine because we sold all the wines from the restaurant and a bunch of different wines, and open one because they had this high-end experience where people would come in. I'd pour them a little, and while they would taste that wine of the day, while they were looking around. And so I started learning about wine, and I had started having people come in and ask me, what wine should I get? And I didn't really know. And so, being able to pick a bottle here and there and start learning, really was beautiful for me because it was like the food. I started being able to taste different things, and got to where my favorite thing was when someone come in and didn't know what they wanted, and I'd ask them what they tasted or liked in a wine, and I'd be able to start pairing them with that. And then, so I was actually born and raised in Alabama.
Okay.
And so back in Alabama, they had a wine bar that was opening up. And so I kind of graduated from my bakery job and started working at the wine bar.
Now, when you was working at the bakery, how old were you?
I was 21.
Okay. I just wanted to check. We didn't want to condone minor drinking.
No. I started working at 21 after I had stopped playing sports and things. So, but no, I was legal. And, but anyway, so I started, working there and learning about so many different things, and I was still coaching, and my father was building a nonprofit, and I didn't really realize he was building a nonprofit, and that's a whole nother story for another day. But, he was building a ropes course, and he said, I'll never forget. He said, I'll never tell you what to do, but this is so up your alley. Mm-hmm. And so I prayed about that and really felt like that's what I was, supposed to do. But the same week, ironically, we had this big wine event at the place where I worked. We brought in this big wig from California. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the night, he'd offered me a job to work for him. Okay. And to go out to California, but I could be the regional rep and I could spend a lot of time in Alabama and kind of tried to make it worth my while. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, I've thought about it so many times since we've opened our tasting room, it didn't seem like it was an easy answer for me at the time, because I really felt like I was supposed to be where I was at the time. But just how now where I am, where the Lord's brought it all kind of back to full circle. But, so I started managing a ropes course and a basic schedule to realize that we were a camp and I was a camp director. So I got to help build that. Nice. I was a nonprofit camp. We hosted nonprofit groups at no charge to them. Mm-hmm. And we had special needs in the summer. I taught leadership development for college, high school. We did our fire department. All different types of groups, mm-hmm. And just really loved that aspect of it. And I did that for 16 years.
Wow.
And I'll kind of pause and let Tyler catch up on what he did before we met. And then we'll get into us meeting.
Yeah. So during college, worked in the restaurant industry. Kind of a surrogate father of mine had built a very large restaurant chain across the country. He'd opened 129 stores and sold it. And I moved back to Dallas-Fort Worth. I was born in Bedford, Texas, so in the DFW area. And when I moved back there, I went to work with him while I was doing business in school, and learned the restaurant business and the hospitality, and helped grow and open up a couple stores there, and went and got some, thought I'd go into finance. And had a friend that was in finance, and went got my mortgage, insurance, real estate, all the things, investment license, and learned when you're in your early 20s, people don't listen to you about finance. Right. I was a little too young at the time. So continued in the restaurant business, and that's when I met Melissa. And so that's a really quick story about me.
So we met online, and he was in Texas and I was in Alabama.
Okay.
And
I need to ask a question about that. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So beyond doing online dating and knowing that y'all are several states away, what made y'all decide to, hey, we're going to do this?
Well, so I was actually doing a YWAM Youth with a Mission, like a discipleship training program. So I was out in Montana during that season.
Okay.
And I guess kept it somewhat active, and he sent me a message, and anyway, and so I wasn't really looking for anything, mm-hmm. but he kept pursuing, and I think that's kind of what made that jump quicker, I guess, in a way, is how confident he was.
I didn't really pursue,
was it more stalking then?
It was on
That's he wanted to. He was like, "Oh, I'll show up there. I'll meet you in the airport when we go between." I'm like, "Hang on."
Well, so we had.
Why is your face a little red now?
Other profiles like you, and it had picture of Melissa with a deer, and I'm like, heck yeah, she likes to hunt. runs a nonprofit. And one of the things that we were looking at doing in the DFW area was creating like a boys' ranch. And so I was like, well, that's cool. And then it says like profile Mobile. And I just sent her a message, go, where's Mobile? I've never been to Mobile.
And I was super
Mobile's not
annoyed.
on my map, okay? And
I was like, he's cute. First off, and you have to like, he went through all the things you weren't supposed to do. And I was like, well, he's really cute. And okay, I'll see what he has to say. And he says, where's Mobile? And I really wasn't dating at the time. I kind of got on as a promise to my dad after a really, really hard breakup that I would wouldn't just dive into camp and never date again. And so me getting on that was my safe place. And so I was on it for 14 months before he and I had met and before I had even gone out on a date with anybody. And so I was still kind of in that mindset of, and so I told him my response was, it's in Alabama, look at the top left of your screen because it says Melissa, Mobile, Alabama. So when he was like, where's Mobile? I was like, look at the top of your screen. It's in Alabama.
Okay. So, I mean, this is a very good question. We'll talk off air about this part, but Alabama, great state of Texas, so many people here that you could actually go to a lot quicker than Alabama. What made you decide that, hey, this is the person I'm going to go 3 states over to?
I had been praying I saw thousands of people every single week, new people. And so one of the things that I'd been praying for was when I met that person, I had an feeling that I couldn't explain. And so I'd go out on a date and like, yeah, they're nice, but not for me. And so, the whole eHarmony thing, I thought I would laugh when people told me they met online, and I just felt convicted one night on my way home. So I felt like I was, putting an application to be part of like the president's, cabinet or something, because it took me like 2 hours to go through. And I'm surprised they didn't send me a vial to take blood. And so, went through that. I was like, okay, well, if I spent that much time to go through that, I'll kind of pursue it a little bit. So I did. And so whenever I'd sent Melissa that message and we talked, back and forth for about a week or so. And I was like, well, let's go get coffee in New Orleans. That's when I found out she was in Montana. And okay. And she goes, well, what about Skype? This was before FaceTime, right? And I go, let me think about that. And so we got back and we ended up Skyping. And when we Skyped, I just had that feeling that I've been praying for. And so, the world's small.
It can be sometimes.
Yeah.
And he was completely unexpected because that wasn't anything that I had in my head. And again, I really wasn't even planning on talking to anybody on that anymore. It just kind of, he was there and something had my interest to make sure I kept seeking that out.
See, and that's the kind of stories I like to hear, because this world is not what it was 10, 15 years ago. And for y'all to find each other online like that and willing to travel multiple states to see each other and meet each other and decide that, hey, let's do this together is amazing.
And he had told me very early on, before we'd even met in person, because I was still kind of wary of that and the distance and everything. And he said, I don't want to speak too soon, but I feel the Lord calling me to Alabama to be with you. But one day I want to have a piece of property in Texas. And I was like, I love Texas, done. That's great. That sounds amazing. And it's funny because our first date in person was actually the very first Alabama A&M football game.
The Johnny Manziel game.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he was so eager that as soon as my program was done, he was like, we're meeting up. And I was like, well, I'm going to Tuscaloosa to see my little sister. And if you really want to see me that bad that soon and you can't wait till I get back to Alabama or to Mobile, then come on. And so he did. And we had got some tickets and he and I sat together, and his not being obnoxious, him being an A&M fan and still handling that gracefully with, my family and everything, I think gave him bonus points.
How's that feel in the family still to this day?
Our son, he loves it. It's like his favorite story ever. And he has a blanket that we were given, and it's now his blanket. He has commandeered it.
Yeah.
And it's it's Alabama on one side and A&M on the other. And
That's funny.
He loves, it's like his favorite thing. And then if they play each other, he loves to try to pick which one because, he loves both. And he's like, especially now they don't play each other that much. So he's not in turmoil often, and he can like both teams.
That's fair. That helps out.
So I have to be I don't have to be careful because I'm not going to be conceited in any form about college sports. I'd rather cheer on my friends with their name on the back of the jersey and Whatley Wines here and what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If there's the A&M beats Alabama, I don't say a word in front of her mother, and I just smile.
Be chased out of it from the family.
Yes.
That's great. I love that story. So amazing that y'all met each other like that. So you finally went to where'd you go again?
We've met in person in Tuscaloosa. And then he came back to Alabama and seemed like he was or Mobile, and seemed like he was never going to leave.
I was going to be there for a day or two, 3 at most. I think I was there for a week and a half.
Yeah, like 12 days, something.
Wow.
So, and then...
can I make a joke at that?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to joke at that.
Sure, what you got?
I'm just giving you a hard time.
So we dated for another short period of time. We got engaged, had a very quick engagement.
Mm-hmm.
5 months after we got engaged, we got married. And started 4 months. Yeah. And then that was quick. And then we started life. We were right at 30, and so we wanted to have kids. So we started working on kids and had our first son. And then Melissa was running the nonprofit, and I enjoyed business. I started a construction company and did some real estate investment work out there in Mobile, and we did that for about 11, 12 years.
Wow.
And,
so he comes to me like I had a few complications during our pregnancy. That's just anyway, and so I just gone through one of those complications and actually just had a stroke, mini stroke with a TIA. And like the next week, Dollar comes to me and goes, "Now's the time to buy a property in Texas." And I'm like, "Now?"
This is with our second son.
Wow.
And I'm like, he's like right now, like I'd like to book this plane ticket for this time next week. These are the 2 properties that I'm looking at, in Fredericksburg. And I think it's time to pull the trigger. And I was just a little overwhelmed, but at the same time, as confident as he was about it and as persistent as he was, knowing where we were in our life, I knew there had to be a reason. And so he was just talking about the market. He'd been watching the markets, and it was right before the first Trump election. Mm-hmm. And he was, from that standpoint, maybe not, it seemed kind of a crazy point in our personal lives, but he was so right, because I don't know if we could have afforded to do what we're doing now if he hadn't have, had that instinct to buy the property when he did.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. I mean, property values since then has like tripled and quadrupled since then, Yes. It's even me trying to find me a place to buy. I'm having to go an hour and a half west just to find something I can afford, because I can't afford anything where I'm at right now. So I congratulate y'all on finding something that quick and finding it cheap, because if you would have found this now, it'd been outrageous.
Yeah.
It was a diamond in the rough. Mm-hmm. So
we have lots of pictures and things. I mean, a lot of work. Tyler and his brothers all have a gift for just building and fixing things. And I think one of the things that's been super sweet is to watch, he's one of 4 boys, and all 4 of them at different stages all helped do things out here, which was really awesome to see during those seasons when they were working together.
Nice. So you found this property here, you come down here, you book some plane tickets, y'all fly down here. What kind of expectations were you thinking about this property? And then the property you've been looking at, what was your expectations? Because we all know that pictures say one story, and when you actually see it, it tells a whole different story.
So Melissa didn't come. She actually didn't see the property until after we purchased it.
I think our son was 2 months old, maybe 3 months old. Yeah.
So,
but again, I trusted him. I knew his instincts, and you get to know your spouse, and there was just something about him that was so convicted, and I just, there are times that we question each other, and spouses do that.
Well,
but this was one of those
daily.
Okay, I wasn't going to go there, but all that to say, this one, I had such a peace about that he, just that this was what he was, this was it. So
Right.
I didn't question it.
Yeah, so we came down, and there's more cedars on this property that were 50 years old than probably part of the hill country has. I mean, a lot. And we had an old 1800s German stone house, and the proximity, because we're only a 5-minute drive from market plots. So the proximity of being close to town, being close to Main Street, we're not on the 290 corridor, but we don't have all that traffic. And we bought this place. We didn't. Never in my mind.
So I was about to say, we were not thinking wine at all. Even with that history that I had, it wasn't in our brains. And to be completely honest, building Camp Grace from infancy, even as all of this was developing, I was like, we're going to have to find somebody to run this here because I'm not leaving.
Right.
I just didn't feel that peace. And obviously that changed, which is later part of the story, but.
Yeah, so we acquired the property, and we have taken out thousands of cedar trees and took the old 1800s stone home and completely revitalized it. And the old smokehouse and cottage, and we restored everything. We even have the frame still of the original wood outhouse.
Wow.
And
we want to turn it into one day we want to have a few fish in the pond and turn it into a place where you put a little tackle.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
So we've used everything, kept everything. The old smoke shack we turned into a grilling porch. I just really believe when the Lord gives you something, it's now it's now your part to continue that journey.
Right.
And that's kind of, once we get to talking here about the tasting room that we're in, this was originally the DAV. And so we'll make sure to kind of come back to that, but just how we want to still honor that heritage, just like we have the things down at the farmstead. And so at the farmstead, we started renting it as a B&B, and one of his brothers built a beautiful addition to the back, and he's just so talented to do that. And so we started leasing that as a B&B. It was super fun to go in and decorate it. His mom and I kind of both shared our vision for that, which was really fun to do. And so we started in 19. We started using that as a B&B, and so we did that solid, and we kept coming back, and to the point where I think with some of the things we've told, you can tell a little bit about us, especially this one doesn't like to not have multiple projects going at once.
Is that really true?
I'll sleep one day when I'm 100.
I feel you on that one.
But it's because he wants to. He cannot be idle, and that's nothing wrong with that. So we're sitting there enjoying one of our favorite spots on the porch, watching the sunset over the field. And this is kind of the funny part. He and I both remember this exact scene a little differently. So I'll tell him a story, and then you can tell it.
Wait a minute. Should we let him go first on that, and then you fill in the blank on that one?
No. I remember it as us sitting there, and as we're watching the sunset over the field, him going, we could plant vines out there, and we could, we're in Fredericksburg, kind of win in Rome, and you with your, background and wine, we could plant some vines and maybe one day start making one. And if we wanted to do something, we could leave it for our guests. And maybe one day if we wanted to do something different, we'll go there.
So how I remember it, it's the same scenery, sitting on the front porch of the old house, watching the sunset over beautiful field of flowers and native grasses. And Melissa goes, I want to plant that in a vineyard one day. And I looked at her and go, okay, so what are we going to do with the fruit? Sell it to a local winery, or no, we're going to make wine.
This is great.
And okay.
I did not, keep in mind, I did not want to leave Alabama. So I don't know why I would have said these things that would have pulled me here.
Oh my gosh.
So I remember calling my best friend, and we talk every day. And he goes, well, go out to Italy, and those grapevines are like 100 years old, and it takes a long time to grow grapevines, Tyler, and then you have to make the wine. And you don't want to wait till you're old and wrinkly and you can't do it. So you need to go do that. And I'm like, Logan, come on, man. And he kept dripping on me about that. And so I'm very goal oriented.
Pretty quickly we decided to plant the vineyard. And so we ordered our vines in 2020 so we could get the custom graft dormant,
right,
and plant in 21. And again, what I remember is between 2020 and 21 when we planted. At this point, again, he's an all or nothing. So we've decided we're going to plant this. Now we're moving forward. Like this is a new vision. And so I remember it as him being like, okay, well, if we're going to, go ahead and plant vines, let's start making wine, and let's just get a little bit. And I'm like, well, how would we even do that? Where would we even find like a winemaker? And so as we're here a good bit and having these conversations, the Lord just kept putting us in the path of this beautiful couple that make wine together. And he's the winemaker and she's a wine chemist, and people we talked to, everything pointed to pushing us together, which was just so beautiful and organic. And so, it's like, okay, well, we can maybe do a little, and
like a ton of fruit maybe or so. It makes
we could sell it at the B&B, and we can come back and maybe sell it online and do a couple events here and there, maybe be a part of a few events. And it was more than just, because we were talking about like 3 or 4 different wines, like a white and then maybe a couple different reds, because we're red drinkers. And upon further discussion with the wonderful winemaker, just said we both love a good bold red. And so loving a good bold red, we love to saunier our rosés. So we give more skin contact to our reds. So we throw rosé in the mix. And then everything we've done has kind of snowballed bigger, faster.
So what happens when you start doing wine?
Oh, yeah, it did.
It's like right in a bowl.
Yeah, you get on there. You just
hold on.
8 seconds is not good enough sometimes nowadays. Well, and it's fascinating. First off, we're going to step back talking about y'all's little vision, how both y'all's stories are different. I'm going to tell you what I'm painting in my head. Listen to this, okay? You're in a rocking chair. He's in the porch swing.
They're actually both gliders.
Oh, they're both gliders?
They're both gliders. It's exactly in between your vision.
So I see y'all sitting on the porch, and you're both out there, and you got a glass of wine, and you're just talking to each other, but talking to your own self, because your totally stories are completely different.
Well, it sounds like somewhere in there we were both on the same page, even though we don't remember it that way now.
Well, that's what happens when you drink way too much wine. Because I've had a couple of times where I drank a little bit of wine. I'm like, how did I get here? I'm just kidding.
That would have been Melissa that night.
I'm gonna have to
do not
look at that time, man. Look at that. I gotta go now.
So then why were the grapes my birthday present?
Oh, burn.
Because that's what she wanted.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, look at that time, folks. It's time for me to go ahead and pack up and leave now. There's going to be a fight here.
Absolutely not.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's whatever the right story is, there's actually always 3 sides of the stories. His story, your story, and the truth. And only one person knows that truth. And who is that?
The Lord.
That's right. And he's sitting there laughing at both y'all right now. He goes, I know the truth.
Well, he was probably going, it was a little bit both.
It probably was. But, it's amazing. Whatever y'all story is, how y'all saw that, y'all both had the same vision in a different perspective. And when you look at yourselves at that time, and you look at it now, you're like, yeah, we were just going to do this for fun. And now here you are, you've turned this into a beautiful place. And I know we haven't even talked about the tasting room yet, but so far the wines that I've had is amazing. And I'm planning on drinking more.
We can't wait to share more.
I can't drink too much because I have to drive today. Okay.
Understood.
But I'm excited.
And Tyler should pour because I'd get in trouble for heavy pours. So if anybody comes in, ask for me. I'm just kidding.
You know, you and me are the same way. I'm like, hey, you want to try this? You know?
Tyler's like, whoa. I think that's double.
That's not a tasting. That's a glass. But I mean, it's a fascination. You know, again, my story is I found the fascination and grapes and in wine and stuff. And that's how I came to this point. Y'all's fascination came from the same point. You saw something, you envisioned something together, and y'all pushed forward to it. Now, at that point, y'all are in a turning point in life. You've been doing this one thing over here, and this dial just completely, slowly but surely changed 180 degrees from where y'all were. And I commend y'all for one.
So that was kind of gradual. It's funny. I see it, and I said the story with my dad in camp was a whole nother story, and it is. Mm-hmm. But that was this gradual, accidental, and I feel like somehow I got myself in the same situation that he did with camp, with here, with just this gradual slope that led us to where we are. Because when we started making those first wines, we were really trying to pray about who we are and what we wanted to be. And I just had a vision of this one particular wine, and it's kind of our flagship story. It's our flagship wine, not flagship wine, because we'll get into that later. But and so we really, that story aspect kind of led us to getting to a point where each one of our wines is a story and a testimony. So for our first vintage in 21, we kept, honestly, we went into this too, just to kind of say, flip on the other side of it, that we wanted to be 100% Texas. Like, we heard all the things, like, just, you hear a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And we wanted to be 100% Texas, and we couldn't hardly get any Texas fruit in 21. We were able to get what we thought, get 2 Texas grapes, and then started our experience with filling in the holes on that with some California fruit, just because we couldn't get Texas wine fruit in 21. We were able to get more in 22, but to kind of lead into the bridge between those two, each one of our wines was a story and a testimony. And the building that we're sitting in right now, they told us, because we contacted them, because it's the road frontage to our property. Mm-hmm. And they had said they didn't think they would ever sell, just for sentimental reasons, but they would keep us in mind just in case. And so 4 days after our first labels were approved with God on the back of the label, because each one of our wines is a story and a testimony, they called and said, we are ready to sell. We just made peace, we're ready to sell, and we know y'all are interested. And so we, like to give you 24 hours to see if we can work this out, just us, or we're going to put it on the open market. And we were like, whoa, this is all moving so much faster now. That's kind of when we went from this long-term to more of a speedster. Right. And it's like, we can't really say no to that. Like, it's our road frontage to our property. And then that was like, okay, now we have this building. So now we need to have a tasting room. And so, but again, another blessing that the Lord gave us in that season was that was April of 22. And so we were able to increase, kind of knowing that we were moving into having a tasting room, increase our Texas vintage for 22. And, a lot of the things we thought we were going to get, we didn't end up getting. And I think there's so much of that in our stories. And one of them in particular was the, what we call it, Crossroads. And it's a special story. And do we have a minute to tell that one?
Yeah. We're only 30 minutes in.
And,
40 minutes. We still got time.
And the reason I say that is because I said we were supposed to get 2 Texas fruits in 21. Well, we had 2 tons of Tempranillo coming down from the high plains, and we were on a shared truck with 20 tons, and the whole truck flipped. And for us, it was our first vintage, and we didn't know what we were going to do with it. So yes, it was a big ouch, and, and it was a bummer, but my heart broke for those other vineyards, that was their livelihood, especially if they were 100% Texas, and knowing how hard it was to get Texas fruit during 21, like just broke for them more than it even did for us.
Right.
And it was just one of those unfortunate things. And, you know, that same time, my aunt had found out that she had kidney cancer, and then found out that it was contained in one kidney, and was able to have that removed and then become cancer free. And but at the same time, I kind of almost had, this is where our 21 vintage grew from our couple to a few more, because our sweet winemaker was like, you know, I know of this really great vineyard that, because again, this is now basically, and time fine, you know, this is July, this is harvest, right?
Right.
And he's like, you know, they're great quality. They have a little bit of overages. We could get a little bit of this, half a ton. We could fill those 2 tons with maybe a couple of different varietals. And I was like, you know, we only did one white. I'd kind of like to do another white. And he was like, well, the only thing still in the vine is a Chardonnay. And I was like, oh. It's like the one, you know, there were 2 things I said we would never do, which were a Chardonnay and a Texas Cab. And the only reason for Texas Cab, I'll side note to that, is just because of the education of a Texas Cab. I love I think Texas makes an incredible cab. But even before I started drinking a Texas Cab, I liked a Chilean Cab. So I like that Texas Cab style over a California style.
Right.
But what was happening is people were coming into our area, they would taste a Texas Cab, and it's different than California, and they'd think there was something wrong with it.
Right.
It's like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And so we did both in our first vintage, a Texas Cab and a Chardonnay. And I was like, you know, a lot of people like Chardonnay. It'll give us 2 different whites. Let's do it. And so when the Chardonnay grapes arrived, it was right when she found out that she was cancer free. And so, and the only wine that she ever drank was a Chardonnay. And I was like, I think this is your story. And so it was such an honor to be able to walk through that with her and bring her into the, you know, back to the back, and bring her some of her first wine from the barrel, and present her with her label.
That's awesome.
And just talk through and really pray through what that story was supposed to be. And she just kept telling me that, you know, it was her representation, because she remembered when her mother was diagnosed, and just how she wanted to make sure she was careful with how her family around her perceived that. And so our message on the back of Crossroads is just basically that, you know, we all come to a point where our life is turned completely upside down, which her life was, and the truck was. And so, and that, whatever, when we get to that point, you know, the only choice we really have is where we let our heart go, and those that follow around us, you know, they follow that. And that, and our kind of second part on that is that our prayer is that if you find yourself at one of those crossroads, that you lift both your arms and let the Lord lower one in the direction that you should follow. And so, from our 21 vintage, he started giving us these stories and giving us these messages. And from that, 2 tons of Tempranillo turned into a Chardonnay, a Merlot, and a Petit Verdot.
Oh.
And so they continued into, again, wines we didn't necessarily think that we were going to have. But that's also allowed us now to start with more variety. And to, like, you know, we want to let our wines age. We want to, you know, Tyler and I went out and visited California, and one of the things that really struck with us was, you know, we were tasting, I mean, the reds that were open were 6 years old, and that was their normal flight list. You know, it's like a 5 or 6 year old red. And the industry out here is so supported that, a lot of wines just don't have the opportunity to do that. And so I'm sure Tyler will get into all the delays that we had in opening from 22 until now. Because we bought this property in 22 and obviously just opened in May. But I really felt like, from a me perspective, that the Lord was just telling us to wait, to give our wine some time. And so it allowed us to have a decent variety from 21 and even 22, where we can bring in some of those, like the one that you love is a 22, and bring in some of those.
That's what I was about to say. This is a great segue into what you poured for us.
Yes, that's our 22 Cab Franc. It's one of our favorites and one of our crowd favorites as well. And that's actually a beautiful story in itself. The story on the label is more just a motivation of the word frank and how it's to be open and honest, and that we're called to do that to each other, but we're also called to give those honest words with love. But we're called to do that. We're called to be direct with our brothers and sisters and for accountability, keep ourselves accountable. But it's funny, we went to our very first Texas wine auction in 21. The first one. And we walk in together. And as soon as we did, I was completely struck by like the Holy Spirit, to where I felt like strongly, like where we sit matters, but like it made me super anxious. So I did what all wonderful women, not all, but maybe no other wife has ever done this. But I turned to Tyler and I said, Tyler, I feel like the Lord just said where we sit matters and you get to pick.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, like, okay, grabbed my stuff and walked around kind of almost silly for a minute, kind of weaved through and was like, right here, and put our stuff down and we're going to sit. I said, perfect. I felt a beautiful peace about that. It was done. And we walked away and enjoyed walking to taste the foods and the wines. And when we came back to sat down, we actually Tyler was sitting right next to the owner of this vineyard.
Okay.
And at the time we were looking for something to go into the Concrete Egg, which is, we do German varietals for that one. And that's a story if Tyler wants to tell. It's one of like his family heritage. But we were looking for a Texas varietal to go into that. And he had a Gruner Veltliner that we also do with, and the name of that one is Versus. And so, he was like, I might have a little overage this year. And the next thing he was like, oh, I also have some Cab Franc. And so we've ended up getting some truly beautiful grapes from him. And I really believe that was a partnership that the Lord really blessed.
So
and
where are your grapes come from for this?
This is Vingo Vineyards, which is up in Delhart.
Okay.
So way up there.
Way up there. Yeah.
But that's kind of why I think this Cab Franc is so good, because it's a higher elevation and it's just a different terroir than the others. It's not, I mean, again, our winemaker is incredible, but I think this Cab Franc is a combination, just like any good wine, of the terroir of your fruit and your winemaker.
Right. Interesting. See, and that's why I do this, is that story right there. I love hearing everybody's stories and where it comes from and how you get your bottles. And this is, again, it goes back to my whole principle. Once you get to know the person and you get to understand their wines, and when you get to understand their wines, to me, it tastes so much different. It tastes so much better because now you know the backstory, where this wine came from. They didn't just wake up one day and said, I'm just going to make a Cab Franc. We're just going to do this, You had a story that went with it. Your Chardonnay, your Cab Sauv, your
So
Tempranillo.
we were seeking out the Gruner, and then the Cab Franc just kind of
fell in your lap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your turn, Tyler.
So what am I talking about now?
Well, let's actually talk about the building. All right. So you talk about this property, you try to buy the property. They didn't want to sell. And also one day they just called you up and said, hey, we're going to sell this. We're going to give you all the opportunity first.
Yeah. So we did. And we were fortunate enough to be able to acquire this building. So it was built in 1980, and the property originally was owned by the family that our farm's on. They had donated it to a gentleman, and he started the 167th Disabled American Veteran chapter here. And so they had the DAV, and then it was more of a kind of a community center that was utilized.
We've heard so many stories.
Bingo nights here. Our neighbor across the street said it was a honky tonk, and they would have family, reunions here and wedding receptions. And I've heard of Fredericksburg having some different like senior nights here. And so it was, for the locals, this was a place that a lot of people had come to. And so it was not the most attractive building. It was all ICU cinder blocks. It was, it's 1980. And we're like, okay, we have a lot of work ahead of us. And so we came in and tore out the ceiling and the ceilings and the walls, and we had all these block walls. So we came in, and the walls behind us, they're stucco, but they're concrete block behind that. And I love antique wood. We had a metal porch, and we took it down, and there was a lot of learning curves. You don't have a ton of permit requirements in the county, but you have some state things. We had a public water system that had to be implemented in the septic, and we have a power line that is behind this building, so there were some variances, and all of the things that we were trying to do. And at that time, I was busier than I could have ever thought I would be with my company back in Mobile.
Right.
And so being here and being proactive, and I thought I would be the GC, and I would help hire people to help me be a project manager here. And, it all sounds great. It really didn't work out well. And so it took a while. And we got here in August, moved down here full time, and realized that things that were said were done, or permits that have been, or variances that are being worked on, it wasn't. And so it really took us almost the first year we were here just to get this building finished and get the proper variances and the permits for the septic and the public water system, and getting the and then nothing happened. Everybody in the Hill Country knows nothing happens on time.
Right.
And
Never happened. Well, that's not just here. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And in my construction company in the past, we were really good at, this is how long it's going to take. This is what it's going to cost. And we would always try to complete before that timeline, because you're Superman at that, and you're the villain if you go past that. Right. And
but then it gives you also, when you get done that early, it gives you time to go back and like, oh, we missed this and you missed that. You have a little bit more time. So if you did mess up or miss something, you have a little extra leadway still.
Exactly. Well, this was not the case. This building took us forever. And amen to that. But it's
all the while we're buying fruit and making wine and building inventory, which is going to be great long term, because we want to have a library. We want to do library wines. We want to have that type of a special. And we've got a lot of wines. I mean, we've got 30 SKUs for just opening. And so we've got a good bit. And then we've got a lot more, waiting in the wings, so to speak, to be released.
I love y'all's relationship. Y'all have a great relationship.
So
here it comes.
There you go. Let's do that.
But we try to be intentional about everything. So we it would have been cheaper to probably tear down the building. I mean, honestly.
But I'm not meaning to interrupt you, but people don't understand sometimes. Yes, tearing down a building may have been cheaper, but what you're losing is a history about it.
And that's why we did it.
Yeah.
Because one, we wanted all the locals who had experienced this place in the past to be able to come back and see how it, from where it was to what it is today. We wanted to create an environment that was comfortable and relaxing, and people could just, wasn't sterile, and hence the couches we're sitting on. And, the light, it's not super bright in here. We have lamps and chandeliers and low lights, and we came in, and I love antique wood. So we had this metal front porch with, metal pipe, and I tore that down, and I love old timber. So we've got these hand hewn 250-year-old timbers that are our front porch, revitalizing old and reusing it and making it just unique.
Right.
The main beam that crosses the front porch is 52 feet long. That was hand hewn 200 and plus years ago. The stone around our bar is stone from our property. Anytime we build anything on our property and we use stone, I try to use stone from our property.
It's literally dug up from the earth.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of wineries that's done that around here, and I found that's pretty impressive.
It's really cool.
It's
And
just keeping with everything has a story. I mean, the wines each have their own, but everything here is intentional.
Right.
the doors are all antique heart pine. The gables are antique heart pine that came out of old cottonseed warehouses.
Wow.
And so, yeah, we wanted to be intentional, and it's really cool because we had so many people that live down the street that come in and have become our wine club. We call our small group. So
Mm-hmm.
become small group members and are excited to come back because they remember Dad coming in here and having a beer, or
Right.
them coming in here and playing bingo, and now they're coming in and fellowshipping with us and having wine, which has been really cool.
It's amazing. Well, and a while ago when you was talking, just so you know this, I actually was taking the camera and I was actually panning around while you're talking so people can see what this is. And I'm first off, when I got here, looked at this place and I was just awestruck. Awestruck,
Yeah.
awestruck. Yes, I'm not a English person at all. Okay,
You're good.
The next two of us.
or not even a math person at all. But I mean, looking at the property plan there, because like I was telling you both, when I come into a winery, I have no preconceived notions of what it's going to look like. I want what I come in to see what it is, and I want to experience that first.
Just like a customer would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And first off, I commend you repurposing everything that you've had over years of work in construction into this, because it adds characteristic into it. And then repurposing rock from the property into it adds characteristic into it. And you can see, and we've just met like last night, actually, physically met. We've been on the phone a couple of times. I can see your personality in this whole thing. And I see who y'all are just by looking at this. And if I can see that, that means everybody else can too.
I appreciate that.
So, yeah.
We definitely wanted to do like a rustic elegance and kind of what we told you earlier, but to kind of let everybody else know too, just like with everything being intentional. The chandeliers that are hanging in here were actually, we bought for our wedding. And so the ones in the back, we got married at camp where I worked and under semi-permanent tent structure. And the ones that are in the back over the tables where we walked down the aisle to, and the one in the entrance here was in the entrance. And then, we used these two on the wings in our reception. And so we held on to those knowing that we would use them someday. And even in buying them, we wanted something that we loved. And so it's just interesting how all of that has come together, which is kind of what the Lord's put on my heart to say too, is just like, we talked about at the beginning, like where I was and what we've done. And it's been quite the journey over the last year, because to be honest, we were only going to come for a year and then go back.
Mm-hmm.
And
how's that year going? How's that year going?
Well, we've extended to 2. And we will take it one step at a time, and we don't need to go any further in that conversation. But we're taking it one step at a time. But I say that to say in October, I just felt like the Lord released me, and we have hired a new camp director out at camp. And so we're really kind of all in here, and camp's in a new stage, and we're in a new stage here. And for Christmas, Tyler actually built me some low ropes. And so like for me, where we are with, like, I've created our whole menu,
Mm-hmm.
and the food and wine pairing aspect is what I absolutely love. And so one of the things I guess didn't really say, but my vision for our winery was the Last Supper, which is a painting that's ahead of us. And that was because, Jesus chose to come together with the people that he
Mm-hmm.
meant the most to him. And he had the hardest conversations of his life. And he chose to do that over food and wine, and using food and wine as visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to, at this point, we want to bring that relational aspect back to wine and to food. And so right now we're just offering charcuterie boards, but we're going to hopefully, in the next little bit, start offering small bites. with like pairing suggestions. And then we're eventually going to offer our flight boards either with or without food.
Nice.
And our flights also, we love, and I'll let Tyler talk about that, but like, because he is a stickler on the glasses, but I will let him kind of talk about that. But to the point that I felt like the Lord was saying was just that really gosh, I feel like this is our own little camp, but you know, the winery and the farm, it's neat when we do tell our story like this, like in its entirety, to see how the Lord like prepared us each step of the way, because here we can, you know, we got food, we've got the wine aspect of it. Yes, drink some more. But then again, like we want to do some retreats out here and do lots of events. So we're going to do like the locals nights because we still have the old bingo machine. But we're also going to do like retreats. Like we did our first marriage retreat out here in February. And that was so beautiful to be a part of and just warmed my heart. And again, Tyler built me some low ropes activities. So I'll be able to hopefully do some corporate leadership. Because I did team building, conflict resolution, and like personality assessment within like corporations and just kind of taking all the things from a me aspect. But then again, as we've told everything, Tyler's restaurant background and Tyler's building background, if you think about all of the things that we've said, shake all that up in one little package, and that's kind of where we are.
You know, again, it's amazing that each one of y'all came from a different, diverse background. And here y'all are pulling together and you're using that to y'all's advantage. A lot of people do that. And sometimes some people don't even know they have that background until it's time to do something like this. And they're like, oh, I really like doing this. It's pretty impressive y'all doing that together like that.
You want to tell everybody about our glasses?
Yeah. Yes. So first off, the video can't get too close to it because I don't have a way to get closer without zooming in. But first off, I experienced a flat bottom glass Thursday at Hawk Shadow. And it was my first time ever experiencing that. And I'm sitting there trying to swirl and trying to get my little fan blade going. And I'm like, I can't get it done. And I'm having this OCD moment. Okay. and Doug was telling me this gives you a little bit more swell, where it kind of like an ocean kind of just rolls it around. And
I made a noise earlier. I'm not going to do again.
Oh, that's okay. I've already got it recorded. I'll give it to you later.
Oh boy.
But I mean, once he described it to me and what it does, it allows more openness to give more air into it on the surface level. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then also I noticed it's also Rito glasses, and I know that Rito glasses are crystal. And I've noticed that also the drinking out of Rito glasses, wine tastes a whole different ballpark out of there. And one of these days I would like to do a Rito class one day, you know? So
that it's all about the experience. And we, like I said, we want people to come in and have an experience of being relaxed and comfortable. And our tables in the back, you know, it's more of kind of like a dining room setting with soft chairs. And part of that experience is how you taste your wine. So I wanted to do very nice glassware. You know, we're not putting our logo on the glassware. We may do that at some point with some glasses. But when people come to Whatley Wines, they know they're at Whatley Wines. So I just, you know, I wanted it to be clean and I love an open red wine. And so with these glasses, you can open up that wine a little bit more. And we have our whites, which is more of a closed, and then our flutes for our sparkling or bubbles.
I love those flutes, by the way.
They're pretty.
And but that was to me, that's important. All of the little details to create an experience for the people that come in and want to share wine with us and stories.
And our flight boards are individual glasses.
And our flight boards, they are. So, you know, we wanted, I don't like the cross-contamination of wine going from one glass to another glass to another glass. We had somebody in here yesterday that's in the industry, and every time, and they're like, well, how do we kind of do this? And I was like, oh, we'll just have fun today, you know? And they're like, well, let's try some of that. Okay. And I pull out a new glass, and they're like, you're going to have a lot of dishes to do. I'm like, well, I'm a great dishwasher too. So, that's just what we do. But it's
Lots
about
of hats.
we want you to, that's the experience that we want. And, so yeah, we do have a lot of glasses. And so in our flights, we do 4 wines per flight.
Mm-hmm.
We do a little bit more than a typical tasting pour because it's 4. And, but we have them, each one is done differently. And because of the stories and because of our wines and the stories, our labels all have a story on the back of them. Melissa had this awesome idea that we've implemented is we actually, on our flight boards, when we lay that out for our guests, we have the wine and we have a card. And that card has a picture of the label, the varietal, the year, where it came from. And on the back, it has the story. So as people are in here and they're experiencing wine and sharing, and they can be reading these stories, and in life, no matter where we are, there's peaks and valleys. Yep. We may be on a peak, but there's a valley happening at the same time, right? Or we're in a valley and we are looking up at the peaks and there is a brighter future. And so we're hoping that by sitting here and tasting wine and fellowshipping over wine and then hear food to come, they can read these stories and we can touch somebody where they are, wherever they are. And it can be just, if we are able to, through stories and through wine, be able to impact somebody's life in a positive way, even if it's one person.
Yeah.
That's our mission, and that's what we want to do.
And we have 2 boys. So kind of that good idea came from honest hours of mommy. For some reason, it's mommy and the boys organizing all of their trading cards, like Pokemon to basketball to hockey. I mean, all these random things that we all of a sudden we're into this. And so now we've got this trading card and Bakugan. I don't even know, but everything has a card these days.
Yeah, everything has a card.
Everything has a card, and you've got to keep them all straight. And, I was like, how beautiful would that be? Because we're trying to figure out a way to make it transferable and relational. Because the Lord really had me write the labels. Like when you come in, like Crossroads, for instance, you're not going to get that whole story just by reading the back of the label. That's something that we'll share later. And we're working on maybe doing some videos for each story to put on our website. But we wanted it to be where the Lord could hit you where you were and like reach and be transferable to different situations and different people, and kind of leave the door open for him to work through people and encourage people. And so the trading card just kind of hit working with that. And we've got a wonderful marketing lady who's become very, she's become very close, and
she's like your mom.
And so she has helped us, create all of this. And, without the guidance, the Lord just sent us who we needed at each step. And so the cards are really, and kind of when you come in and you look at the top of our menu, it says, "This is our story. What's yours?" Because our heart is that you'll read the back of that card with your group and then use it as a conversation starter. And it be, whether it provokes a question or a thought or a story, but something that you can use to build that relational aspect of who you chose to come in with.
This whole time, and I started telling my story to y'all before we started this, and after this show's over with, I want to tell more to it. Give me just a second. Let me pull myself back together.
We do have tissues. This happens a lot here. You're right there.
This is my show. I don't cry on my show. What are you talking about?
It's okay. It's this place.
But I want to share my story with y'all. But I really love what y'all have done here. Okay. Your story is inspirational. And this is why I do this podcast, is for this story right here. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's walk in life is different. Everybody's journey into wine is different. But in the end, we all have the same ending story. We've got into this. We want to pull people in. We want to bring community in. We want to bring people together. We love people. We want to show what we can do. And that's ultimately what this whole industry is all about here. And we talked about this yesterday with the interviews I did yesterday, and even during the panel, that the Texas wine industry is day and night different from the California industry. They bicker between each other. We help push, uplift, and as Rusty, and I keep saying Rusty at Breaking Bud up in North Texas, he coined this phrase, and I have to give him credit every time, but Texas is a competition winery state. We cooperate with each other, we help each other, we lift each other up, but at the same time, we're in competition with each other.
Well, we've really felt that, like, we've only been open for a few months, and I'll say probably at least 40% of our people that have come in, or, maybe a little less than that, but a large percentage, when you really think about it, have been industry people. And they're just so excited to come in, support us, share about us, and then have us reciprocate and come in and taste their wines and share theirs with us. And then us be excited for each other about what we're doing. And I think if it been more competitive, I don't know if I would have loved it as much as I do, to be completely honest. I've done competitive sports and things like that. It's not that I can't be a competitive person. It's just when it comes to things like that, I don't like that catty, that I just, it's not a comfortable place, especially to be in day in and day out. And so we've truly felt supported, encouraged, and loved from our community here, the wine community, and even just their community. Just a normal community of welcoming us in with our boys.
Look at the floods and just how the whole
I can't even about that right now.
And so it's just a special place.
Being a camp director of 16 years, like, I'm going to need the tissues myself here in a second. Like, been truly broken. Like, natural disaster was like my worst nightmare as a camp director. I can't tell you how many nights I woke in the middle of the night and literally stared at a radar screen and prayed away tornadoes.
Right.
And thought about what I would do if I had to go and get campers to safety. And so just that whole situation, and knowing that both, like, 2 camp directors were lost, has, like, struck me so hard. And we're working on something. I can't really say it yet, but we're working on some sort of a fundraiser that you'll see from us as well. But we want to support. We haven't been here that long, and that's what's, if having us take a little longer to build something. We're working on some sort of a fun. We've got several ideas, and I don't want to talk about them until they all work their way out. But we will let you know as soon as we do, because we want to work with our community. We want to build them up. That's what I did for 16 years. And I want us to be a safe place for this community. I want us to be a place that, we're for profit, maybe not a nonprofit where I was, but it doesn't mean that your mission and your heart and your goal of what the Lord's put on your heart can change. So we want to be that community center. We want people to be able to come in and really use, we want to help. And we're still trying to find ways to help and what our journey looks like in that. And I think the Lord's given me a place of peace, that there's a lot of help right now, but our community is going to need more. When the light fades on the national stage, there's going to be a lot more needed. And we hope, and I feel like the Lord's shown us with this and the timeline of how long it took for us to get this going, and his timing was right. Maybe it was, we were impatient and we were frustrated. But we'll be able to, he'll bring us in when we're needed the most.
And yes, what has happened, and not just over July 4th weekend, but it's happened to multiple places, not just here in Texas, but like in New Mexico also. In fact, actually, I was watching a video online that there was a horse ranch in New Mexico that the horses were up to their neck in water, and they were trying to get the horses out of there, and they were freaking out. And so it's not just something that happens to a couple of people or a location. It's happened all over the place, and it's an unfortunate thing that has happened. But we have to pull together as a community to push, pull, support everything we can to help. We can't put everybody back together, but we can put a majority of the people back together, and we can help them pull their lives back together, and that's what we're called to. So, and
we want to, again, like. We want to hold lots of events. Like, we want to do, like, we've got so many different varietals and so many different unique things, using concrete eggs. We've got some wines that taste a little different than the style that you're used to, which is really cool. And so we want to do side-by-side events, and We want to do community events. We want to do all kinds of events, and eventually, start doing retreats and stuff at the farm that like work with this. And, but we, another event that we're kind of working on putting together to kind of go, like we talked about with the history of the building is, Veterans Day coming up. Like we have one of our wines, that the story of that one, and it's actually called Asa, which Asa was a puppy. Well, yeah, our dog accidentally, Tyler's baby, a very high-end African Rhodesian Ridgeback, had a little Romeo and Juliet affair with the neighbor's very high-end baby hunting British Lab.
Wow. Okay.
And Tyler looked it up when we realized we were having puppies, of what they were, and found that we were having high-end Rigidors, which apparently is a designer breed.
Wow.
That people breed for hunting. And we ended up with 9, and they were all solid black. 8 of the 9 had her ridge, and we found homes for them very quickly. There was one puppy that did not have a home, and when we went into our, I think it was 3-week checkup, and we're going to post this eventually. I took lots of video through the process, and but we found out that she had a hole in her heart.
Oh.
And it was going to cost us, I think, like $5,000 to do a surgery.
Wow.
And I told Tyler, I was like, I know that this is insane, but we cannot let this puppy die. Like the Lord wouldn't have a challenge like this happen if we weren't supposed to do something about it. Like, so we moved forward into that process, and all of the other puppies' parents were all prayerful people and kind of started praying for the puppy. And when we went into our echo, kind of gearing up for surgery, I was completely healed.
Wow.
And so Asa is Hebrew for healer. And, I took videos of all the puppies when they were little, and this one, and I sent them to the owners, and I found myself go back and rewatching them, and it was, I feel like you're staring into my soul. And there was something about her, and I knew the Lord wouldn't give us this challenge if it wasn't to push us in a different direction with her. And so long story short, we donated her to an organization that came out to Camp Grace that helped pair service dogs with disabled veterans.
Wow.
And
awesome.
So Asa is now paired with a wonderful female Marine, and they're just a perfect match, and get to check in from time to time with them. And we're hoping to maybe get them out here for maybe one of the events that we do to support veterans.
Nice.
Because again, we want to support the community. So we want to do different events where we try to pick organizations and go back into that. And we're already planning like next spring to do what we call our First Fruits Festival.
Okay.
Or I'm calling our First Fruits Festival, which is going to be our, we're going to release our first estate wines that we put into bottle. We just bottled them a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
And calling it our First Fruits Festival because, again, kind of like, I guess one of the things we didn't say is we're not open on Sundays. And we want to be unapologetically kind of who we are.
Well, no, it's your Sabbath. And
just love people and love on people when they come in. And so, it very clearly states, bring your first fruits to me. And I wish I need to memorize this verse. But, and then I will bless your fields for years to come. And so we did make a lot between the white and the rosé. It was like half a ton of white, a half a ton of rosé. And so we're going to do a first fruits event next year. And we're going to donate all of the proceeds from that wine.
Nice.
All 100% of the profit will go back into, a good bit of it will go back into Camp Grace because that's where my heart has been. And then we're going to find a local charity as well.
So something to throw out at you also. Have you ever heard of Kiefersall Winery in East Texas? So first off, great winery. They've actually won the Houston Chronicle Rodeo wine competition 2 years running, the Saddle, the big bad boy thing.
Awesome.
The one that everybody goes for, Yeah. Texas doesn't give out trophies. We give out buckles and saddles. Okay.
Yeah.
We're about to just start entering those things. We haven't started entering competitions yet. We wanted to be open, but that's coming this fall.
Awesome. Congratulations on that. We're going to go ahead and talk about it now because I feel you're going to win some awards. But Kiefer Saul does something every year on Black Friday, every year. And it's a huge event. Like, they have 2,000 people come out for this event, and they do what's called the blessing of the vines.
Oh, I love that.
So they bless the vines for the end of the harvest, and they bless them for the next year. And what they do is they run Christmas lights all through the vines and stuff like that, light them all up. They bring out a preacher that comes out there, and they actually have a tree right in the middle of the vineyard that
I'm going to have to call them because we make sure they haven't copyrighted this because I love it so much.
There's other wineries that do it,
Do something
but not
similar.
at the scale that they do it. Yeah.
This is beautiful.
But they have a tree in the middle of the vineyard that and it has a pathway that goes to it. A lot of people propose to that right there. And they have a preacher that comes out, a local preacher comes out, and he actually blesses the vines before, goes out there and he kind of walks around and anoints everything. And then he comes back and he actually does a prayer and talk about the harvest and what scripture says about the harvest and all that kind of stuff. I'm just throwing that out at y'all.
I
really cool.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You've planted a seed and it's already
You're
starting
welcome.
to sprout. I love it.
But I mean, okay. This is not a complete religious talk show, but we do talk about religion because there is a lot of religious background behind wine, and a lot of the wineries, whether they talk about the religion behind wine or not, that's up to them. But I love that y'all bring the full conception of Christ and wine and everything into what you're doing here. And even though in a lot of places you don't see it in the forefront, but you see it in the back, and you can see it by the actions that you're doing. You do it by the way you're talking. Was it you're supposed to walk the walk and talk the talk?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing that. And whether somebody comes in as a Christian follower or if they're agnostic, whatever, y'all portray that in your surroundings, and you don't ever have to say a word about it at all. People can see it in your surroundings and see what you're doing. And I commend y'all for that. Y'all are standing with y'all's
It's about
faith truthfully.
encouragement. It's about stories. It's about the testimonies. It's not about, don't get me wrong. We all need a Bible study. We all need preaching, be preached to and talked to at different points, but we all need a place for community, and anybody is welcome in that community. And when everybody needs love, everybody needs to feel that support. And so wanted to be a place where that was the foundation, and everybody's welcome to let us love on them.
Nice. Awesome. Well, so I'm being observant of y'all's time because it's like 10:30 right now, getting close to 10:30. And I know y'all have a big party coming in about 30 minutes.
Dude.
And so we've now at an hour and 23 minutes right now. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about that's on your heart? Because this is y'all's show. This is all about y'all. This is not about me. This is about y'all. And this is about the wine that goes with y'all. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about?
I don't think I can really think of anything. Just looking at our wines over there, like we've got lots of different variety. I feel like we've got something for everybody. Most of our wines are dry. They're all dry, but then we do have a semi-sweet series that we created. So we'd have something for everybody. Because there are some people who only like sweet wine and we don't want them to feel left out.
Those are the sinners.
Well, we're not going to go into that. The point is, just to say, like we've got, we've got so many different wines. Like, I think what's been amazing for me is we really haven't had anybody say they didn't love our wines. We've just they've liked everything, and this is good, and this is good, and this is good, and then they have a favorite, and that makes me happy because that's way it should be. Yeah. Like you should enjoy all of our. Quality should be quality, right. But you should have one or two that are your favorite. And that's why we've got a variety. And that's why we do have a lot of SKUs, because you'll find something that you love here that you probably won't get anywhere else. Right. Not many people put a Gewürztraminer or a Gruner in an egg, or a Riesling even, or.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I'll add to that is I'm beyond grateful for the people that have come into our lives in this industry. I know business, but this is it's different. It's a different industry. It's a different business, and it's a huge learning curve for both of us. But it's been great, for all the people that have come beside us and helped teaching us and guiding us in how we need to do something or what we should do, or what they just their recommendations, and to helping us put together media content and different things, and for you and what you're doing, and just it's really cool to
promoting us on their personal page. I mean, it's just really
such
support.
Cool to have all these wonderful people, and that's, to me, at the end of the day. And then you have people, the one thing I love about what we do here versus, what I was doing before is people come in with a smile and they leave with a smile and they're happy and we have a great time, and there's all the stresses. The vineyard, chasing raccoons and ringtail cats out of it at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Another conversation.
Dealing with the rain. There's trucks flipping or having to, logistics on some of our friends. There's the challenges with it all, but
hasn't gone the way we thought it was going to go, but it's been a beautiful story the way it's ended up.
But it's going the way it's supposed to go. And the right people at the right time have showed up and been guiding us, and we're so grateful for that.
So,
and again, just what we've learned about each other, I think, too, and just how, out Tyler's business background, I couldn't do any of that. I couldn't get in here and share the food and wine passion. And it's been such an incredible journey, too. When you say, oh, you have wine knowledge, wine is knowledge it's learning forever. You're always learning something, and people are like, oh, y'all haven't been open long. Have you just learned that? It's no, I've kind of learned over the course of a very long period of time, but just being a part of this industry, I've learned even quicker, and building each other up and learning specifically about Texas compared to other parts of the world. And, there's still always so much to learn and so much to do. And we're thankful for everybody that's been a part of our journey and can't wait to be a part of other people's journey.
And with all this, we're going to start kind of pulling this all together, as Christians, that this was already written in y'all's heart. You just had to find the path.
See that face? If those of you that are watching, there was no words, but quite the face.
It's okay. If you cry too, I'll cry with you. I'll hold you too. Okay. If you hold me.
With different kind of tears. The pain and agony of the process.
But, we all have a story, and the story is already written. We just had to get it to come out. Man, I'm about to cry now. Okay. So I'm going to stop there.
We've got the tissues. It's okay.
I really...
This couch specifically, it's a safe place. Lots of tears have already been shed here, and we haven't even been open long.
Well, that's good. That is very good. And I love that y'all, like you said, this is a safe place, and people can come in here and get emotional. And, we talked about this last night, I think, during the little meeting last night we had. Wine is an emotional thing. It is a time, I like to call it a time travel vessel. Okay. Because I was going to say, you didn't drink one bit at all. But wine is a time traveling vessel. It takes you to a different time and place in life and makes you remember things that you did growing up, and helps trigger a smell, a thought, or whatever. And this is one of the reasons why I love wine. So.
Well, we're thankful to share some more of it with you here in a minute. We'll get all this cleaned up and give you some wine.
Sure. Well, is there anything else y'all want to talk about? I have no wine quotes because I wanted, with you and I had talked on the phone previously, I wanted to give this show 100% to y'all. I still got to hit my sponsors and stuff like that. But I wanted the quotes to be generated from the show itself. And there's a lot of quotes, whether y'all know it or not, was generated in this. Yeah. And I want people, when they actually see this episode and they hear this episode, to feel the thoughts and the love and the feelings and the emotions that came into this. And those quotes lay on their hearts. So
we'd love that. And love to hear which ones speak to them in the comments too.
Yeah. That's a great thing. Free tasting. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe. I don't know. One's good enough. We'll see.
If I'm on a tractor out on the farm, that probably would happen. or will happen.
Like I said, you want me to be around.
Don't still let her pour.
She was in the nonprofit, so you give.
Oh my gosh. Well, Tyler, Melissa, thank you for allowing me to come in here and opening your doors up, especially early in the morning, especially after we were up late last night. Opening doors up early. I know you were really stressed about this. Do you feel better about this now?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
If it makes you feel better, everybody's like this the first time I do this with them. In fact, actually, I'll tell you a little quick story. So one of the wineries up in North Texas, Lonesome Vine, Christy and Andrew. Sorry, Andrew. Great people. They were open like maybe I think a month before I did the podcast or a month after I did the podcast. And we get in there and Andrew said, Christy will never talk at all, maybe one or two words, and I'll have to do all the talking. And I'm like, okay. So we sit down and we started talking and your tour bus is here, by the way. And they just pulled in. I'll wrap this up. We'll make it quick. He said that she'll never talk. She ended up monopolizing the whole conversation the whole time.
Comfort.
So, but
I think the viewers would see that was pretty even on talking. Thank you very much.
Well, if y'all, I know y'all need to take care of this right quick. So, I'm going to just hit my sponsors real quick. First is Texas Wine Lover app. Y'all love the app and stuff.
Absolutely.
And then, sorry folks, we're getting ready to do a wine tour here. So we're gonna wrap this up even quicker. So, and then of course, Old Vine, Texas in Mansfield, and then High Camp Flask. So again, thank you for having us on, or me on the show.
Absolutely. And thank you to your sponsors as well.
And so we'll get this wrapped up. So thank you, Melissa. And this is We Know Texas Vino. Cheers.